So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to Dapper Reacts number 28, I think. Let me double check. 29, there you go. Guliuzza strikes back. I am here, as typical, with Vishanti. How are you, Vishanti?
Congested?
Yeah. Well,
because the plants still aren't asking my consent before they reproduce.
Yes.
I don't appreciate it. It's very rude.
Well, it is nice to know, though, that the answer to the question that I posed in the thumbnail is, in fact, yes. Now, most of you might be... Exactly. Most of you might be wondering about that. And I'll leave it to as an exercise to the viewer to translate the Klingon. So, yeah. We are here with Randy Guliuzza, who is the head of ICR. This is during the Genesis Apologetics big old conference that happened earlier this year. And today we're gonna do the drinking rules, because quite frankly, we did last time Guliuzza was up, and I regretted it. So
OMG! Jillian Wren watches Kaz Krim too. Yay,
nice.
Fellow Simon Whistler fan. Am I right, Peter?
Also, I want to say, Laughing Coyote sent a 1-month milestone chat that said, yo! And Laughing Coyote is at the amnio level, so thank you very much, Laughing Coyote. So, I guess we should go over the
Are we gonna talk about the Natural History Museum?
I mean, we can briefly if you want to.
I think it would be neat.
Okay. Well, first, of course, one big recommendation is if you're going to a Natural History Museum and you have a dinosaur handy, bring the dinosaur. Especially if that dinosaur happens to be knowledgeable about other dinosaurs.
Fact.
Yeah. So how did you enjoy going to the museum with a dinosaur?
Well, it was really nice hearing you talk about your contemporaries and your very distant, super distant relatives.
Right.
That was very nice, and it made the dinosaur bones a little more interesting than they already were.
Well, I'm glad.
Hooray.
I pointed out things like muscle attachment points and, commonalities between different dinosaurs and, how dental batteries work and all sorts of interesting stuff like that. So,
yeah, it was also kind of funny that, was it on the Jackson with Jackson stream this week? You guys are talking about whale.
Yeah.
Somebody was talking about
it was in the early access video.
So,
for those of you who have early access on the channel, so that's members and patrons, the video that I just released, I think yesterday, they actually showed a picture of the whale skeleton that's hung in the museum that we were at.
Yes.
It was the exact whale skeleton, and I was like,
it was that very one. He was like, oh, this is from the LA Natural History Museum. I'm like, I was just there. So, I'm also kind of mad that I didn't take a photo of that. I thought I did. Like, I took photos of some of the stuff that was on the walls, but for whatever reason, I didn't think it was important to take photos of all the ones they had hanging from the ceiling. Why?
Well, you know what? You can always go back.
Yes, I can. I can go back because it's very close.
Yes.
Relatively speaking.
I can go back if I want to pay for a plane ticket or drive for hours.
Start walking.
Seriously. I'll have to pack a lot of water if I want to start walking right now. My goodness.
Do they make camelback water bladders like in dinosaur size?
I'll have to check.
Johnny, citation needed.
Also, Pelagic Tunicate, Truth Official. Amazing. For €2. Says, just sending love to Dapper from Pelagic Tunicate. Yes. Gross. All right, guys. Well, let's get into the bingo rules real quick. Not the bingo rules.
Bingo.
Not the bingo.
Did you mean drinking?
Drinking.
Are you drinking already?
Okay, but Dr. Tapioca Weasel just put in the bingo card, and that's what, crossed the wires in my brain. I was, looking right there where it says bingobaker.com, and that was, seared into my cerebellum.
I'm not going to judge you too hard. I'm not firing on all cylinders, so I can't judge.
Well, my drink today has caffeine, so maybe that'll help. because I'm drinking some whiskey cola. So
Okay.
so guys, when we do the drinking streams, which are usually not on Saturdays, it's usually on Tuesday. But
What,
like
Randy
I said,
Guliuzza?
Randy Guliuzza is just too much. So we will take a drink whenever the creationist in question just kind of makes us, because it's just so dumb, which is usually our most frequent drink trigger. However, we will also take a drink if he gets something right that he's not just quoting from someone else. It actually comes out of his brain and is factually accurate. We'll take a drink. Typically, as we go through these, we get a little bit more generous with that particular drink trigger. By the end, if they say anything that's even vaguely true, I was like, that's true, take a drink.
Close enough.
Right. If he's like, now my name is Randy Guliuzza, I'll be like, yeah, you know what, technically factually accurate, I'll take a drink. We don't start that generous, though. Let's see. If the creationist in question tells a story that didn't happen or tells a joke that didn't land, we'll take a drink. Now, the story that didn't happen is usually a bit of a judgment call, but as a rule of thumb, if it sounds like something that should be in r/that happened, we'll probably call that as a story that didn't happen. Because
Yes.
so many of these stories that they do everything except end in, and then everyone stood up and clapped.
Yes, right.
So yeah, we'll take a drink for those. Also, we have Randy inspired his own drink trigger, which is called Trojan Source. And yes, I know that the metaphor is a little strained. It's mostly there for the pun. But if a source is provided for a claim and the source directly contradicts the claim, we take a drink for that, because that's called a Trojan source here around here. And it's his favorite kind of source. He loves to provide sources to make him sound like he's all really smart and educated. And then you read the source and it's like, oh, hey, this says almost exactly the opposite of the point you're trying to make. So, yeah. Also, if the creationist in question, now this isn't much of a Randy thing, it's more of a Kent thing, but still, it's a rule. If the creationist in question goes ahead and just references the National Socialist German Workers' Party or various prominent members or various of their activities in the early 20th century, we will take a drink for that.
Not smoked.
Yeah. Now, to be fair to Randy, he doesn't do that very much. That it really is much more of a Kent Hovind thing than a Randy Guliuzza
And
thing.
again, I mean, the fact that it's more than 0 is...
To be fair, I don't actually remember him having done so, but it's something so common with creationists that I'm not going to say he hasn't.
Yeah.
So, like,
Ugh.
I can't point to a time when Randy has just gone in and said, hey, if it weren't for evolution, there wouldn't have been a Holocaust, which is quite the take. Yeah.
I've got my dice handy because I have a feeling I might be taking some psychic damage today.
You know, Vishanti, until Darwin, nothing bad ever happened to the Jewish people. Yeah. That's...
the face I just made in real life.
I can imagine. Alright, so, there are also a few other drink triggers that are not tied directly to Randy or what he's going to say. For instance, if you audibly hear Godzilla or Mothra stop by, both of which are noises my phone might make, we will take a drink for those. But also, anyone who super chats or milestone chats anything that includes one of the kaiju emojis, that's Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Godzilla, we'll take a drink for that. Additionally, anyone who super chats anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks, we'll take a drink for that, because they're notorious copyright trolls, who again started claiming people's videos. Not too many of mine, one of mine, but that got fixed. But several of some other people that I know have had that problem pop back up. So they remain a bag of dicks. Now, you do have to be a little creative, because YouTube won't let you just say AIG is a bag of dicks. So, you know, you gotta work something a little bit more creative in there to get past the censorship. But also, we will take a drink for every gifted membership. So memberships can be gifted. They are distributed automatically by YouTube based on how frequently the person receiving, or the pool of people to receive, are interacting in chat. So if you want to get a gift membership when it comes around, be active in chat. Laughing Coyote for $5 says, AIG is a portmanteau of stiff sinew. I'll take it. And that is our first drink.
Yay. I think you guys are gonna figure out when this Zyrtec D hits, because I'll...
So
The things that pseudoephedrine does to my brain. Woo!
So yeah, that's 1 drink per gifted membership. So if you gift 10 memberships, we'll take 10 drinks. Or at least I will. I would suggest that you not drink alcohol while high on Zyrtec, but I'm also not your doctor.
I'm not gonna risk that.
Yeah. Don't be like Lucille Bluth, who mistook the drowsy eye alcohol warning for a winky eye alcohol invitation.
Challenge accepted.
Okay, and for $4.99, Mike Amos says, I'd like to propose a new drink trigger if the Creationist says something that any reasonable listener would take as a sexual innuendo. And then there's an attempt at a Godzilla emoji. We'll take a drink for the Godzilla emoji. Mostly because, hey, you remember.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
I'm drinking coffee, so I'm playing it safe today.
Something. I like it. I'm not sure if we're going to fully implement it. We'll see how the drinking's going, because some of these can get pretty heavy. So it's not a no. I'll have to think it over, though. But are you ready for more Randy, Vishanti?
You mean 50-year-old Ralph Wiggum?
Yes. 50-year-old. 50 is generous. I'm pretty sure that guy's at least 60.
Does he not look 50? Oh,
I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to be nice, but
I think it's the hair. Look, he doesn't look bad for 60, but I think he's got to at least be late 50s, if not early 60s.
But yeah, he does look like an adult
Yeah.
version of Ralph Wiggum. So.
Well, he also acts like an adult version of Ralph Wiggum. We should not let Randy Guliuzza in the deep end of the sandbox.
My favorite Ralph Wiggum line is, "My cat's breath smells like cat food."
Do you think Randy would choose banana in the fruit race on the bus? Go banana! All right, here we go. Here's some more Randy. Now, Randy is telling us, by the way, that's background, how ICR did this experiment where they found out that cavefish can do the fish equivalent of tanning if you take them out. And this apparently disproves evolution, which says that fish lose their pigment in caves because they don't need it, and also lose their eyes because they don't need them, and they're also just, extra energy that has to be spent during development and can become infected, so overall they're bad.
As I said last time, where are the eyes?
Yeah, it's odd that the eyes didn't come back, because he's all excited about the pigment on this previously unpigmented cavefish. But yeah, where's the eyes? Who knows?
They got a tan, but they didn't grow their eyeballs back. Weird.
Yeah, that is weird, right? It was supposed to just switch back on. I mean, he's been telling us how adult animals can just grossly change their morphology in the response to environmental pressures. Huh.
Mm.
All right, well, let's see what he's got for us.
That is a big difference from broken. Modulated systems are highly regulated, enabling creatures to rapidly self-adjust to different conditions. Now, that's quite a remarkable thing.
Okay, so
I too can grow extra limbs in response to my environment, or just a huge, thick pelt of hair.
Right? So let's talk about the fact that, because it is true, right, that organisms can adapt to new environments on an individual basis, right? That's not false. Anyone who's had a dog and moved between different climates can probably attest to the fact, right? And when you're in a cold climate, your dog sheds less than when it's in a hot environment, right? So if you have a dog and you move it from northern Alaska to southern Arizona, you're going to have a whole lot more dog hair to deal with in southern Arizona. I guarantee it.
But that's okay, because you can get those little brushy gloves, and your doggos love that.
Yes. But still. So what is this? This is called acclimatization, right? This is a thing that many organisms go through, because organisms will encounter different environments in different parts of their ranges. And so this is actually something that can be selected for evolutionarily, right? Is adaptive, well, not, but ability to acclimatize. Also, Savage Cobra Kinda Official for $2 says, AIG is a bag of objects resembling Oumuamua. Very nice.
Very nice.
Titalac Rosie for 20,000 Vietnamese dong says, did they grow a tibula and become a Titalac? Let's hope so. Oh, goodness. I love the tibula. Also, by the way, the paper that really formally described Oumuamua, the first big one, actually tried to use some Klingon, and they got it wrong.
Oh,
Yeah. They tried to say give the name to this class of objects, this sort of interstellar rocky thing that might enter the solar system at various points. And they called it a lonely stone. But when they translated that into Klingon, they got the word order wrong. So what they actually said is the stone is lonely. So, yeah. What are you gonna do? All right.
yeah.
But the thing is that the ability of organisms to acclimatize isn't like unknown to science, right? This isn't a surprise to anyone. This has been well documented for centuries. Longer than Darwin was around, people knew that you could acclimatize to different places, right? Like people knew that, hey, when you move up a mountain, you might want to take a few days to get used to the thinner air, but then after that, you'll probably be okay. Same reason I hate visiting Colorado, because I'm never there long enough, and so I always feel short of breath whenever I'm in, like, Denver. Well, by the time I'm done, usually not, but still. Yeah, so this is not new, but it also doesn't explain things like how you go from an ark with 2 elephants to having, like, Paleoloxodon and the African elephant, both species, and mammoths, and also Asian elephants, all from that. Like, you can't do that by just, like, acclimatization. If you stick a bunch of African elephants in Siberia, I promise they will not turn into woolly mammoths as individuals. That won't be what happens. They'll just die. So, yeah, Randy is basically taking this well-understood phenomenon that does not result in a change that we see that he needs it to, and then just pretending that it does. So let's see what else he's got for us in that vein.
The male. We had a female and a male in the same tank. The male was pink also, and after 32 days, the male has also become totally pigmented again. So we repeated.
It's, again, where are the eyes, but it's good to know that tanning isn't sex-based in cave fish, which it would be kind of weird if it were. Like, oh, the females can tan. The males, no, they just get skin cancer. Oh okay. I guess.
Okay. That's a great thing.
Spudmay, who's been a member for 1 month, is at the tetrapod level, says AIG equals sack of accidentally extended circumcisions. Oof. Ouch. Take a drink for that. Too young to feel this old for $5. I don't know where the 25 came. Says about to take the kiddos on to a dino safari downtown. Wow, that sounds fun. They specifically asked if they would see Dapper. Also, Vishanti on a skinny mudkip. Yeah, mudkip is the Ashloch Pokemon, isn't it?
It is.
Well, I hope you have a lot of fun too young to feel this old, and I hope the kiddos do too. And
Dino Safari.
I hope there's a Ceratosaurus, because you know where there isn't a Ceratosaurus in the entire place? Yeah, the LA Museum of Natural History. Not one Ceratosaurus.
It's like, what if we only had Carnotaurus and T-Rex? What if?
Yeah. Well, and a Therizinosaurus ungule.
Oh, yeah.
One cast of a Therizinosaurus.
One single, yeah. Finger bone, yeah. And I'm like, I mean, I guess, yeah, because it's popular with the kids, but for real? Like, there's not a little more diversity in here? Whatever.
Even the Dinosaur Encyclopedia in the gift shop didn't have Ceratosaurus in it. It was very insulting. It was still a really fun trip. All right, here we go.
The experiment. We have this fish. You have a sided fish at the top. The fish at the bottom was the one we did experiment on. The females are a little bit bigger.
Interesting how you didn't get those eyes back, but let's keep going.
You can see on this particular area, we exposed that fish to additional mimic sunlight. And again, after about 1 month, there was the fish. Repigmented, totally functional.
Okay, first, I'm going to take a drink for a few different reasons. We're going to talk about it. There we go, there's a drink. First of all, one of the things I noticed very, very clearly is that this middle fish, which is the same as the bottom fish, but at a different point in time, is clearly not as heavily pigmented as the surface-dwelling non-cave fish at the top, right? I think we can all see that. So it's not like you're getting back to the sort of general population type on pigmentation. And also, if you look at the bottom fish, it's not completely unpigmented either. So yeah, it's not much of a surprise that a fish with low amounts of pigment can get more pigment if you put it in sunlight or simulated sunlight, which is, I believe, what they're actually talking about. Like, yeah, that's not a revelation. But again, where's the eye, Randy? Where's
Yeah,
the
that's
eye?
one of those things. I'm gonna keep doing the clapping meme. Just where are the eyes?
Yeah, because his explanation for the loss of pigmentation and the loss of eyes is exactly the same. So for his mechanism to work, you should predict that the eyes will come back just as easily as the pigmentation. And yet,
Mhm.
no eyes. So either something different is causing these, or his explanation is wrong, which, yeah, it is.
Goodness gracious, we can't have that.
Nope.
System, so we can repeat this over and over again. And if you want to see some
Tex-Mex for $5 says AIG is a bag of scrotum humanum, which is great. Do you guys know the scrotum? Well, do you know the scrotum humanum story, Vishanti?
I don't, but that seems funny.
Okay, so this distal end of a dinosaur femur was found, right? And the distal end of a dinosaur femur has these two bulging protuberances, shall we say. And when this particular femur was found, or part of a femur, this was before like paleontology had really become a thing. And so no one really knew what it was, but the person who was a naturalist examining it thought it really looked like a petrified scrotum, but a really, really big one.
No.
So they were like, we'll call this specimen scrotum humanum because it's the fossilized scrotum of a giant man.
Giants confirmed.
The biggest,
checkmate atheists.
That guy's got the biggest balls ever.
I mean, giants confirmed. There you
Right.
go. Somebody mailed that to L.A. Marzulli. I bet he'll take it completely seriously.
Oh my goodness. Send it to Roger from Mud
gold.
Fossil U. See if he can talk about the giant ball.
The two most gullible humans on the planet.
I mean, I already have on my channel, which hasn't been released yet, but it's coming pretty soon actually, him basically saying that this cave is a fossilized vagina.
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on, dude. What are you talking about? He's like,
just.
I mean, his evidence is it's kind of shaped like one at the front.
Look, he needs to go to therapy because my man's got some like serious Oedipus complex and stuff going on. Like, I feel like Freud would have a field day with this guy.
Well,
I'm not saying Freud is like the gold standard of psychology or anything.
Right.
There was actually a bunch of his stuff that was kind of crank, but
a lot of it.
Honestly, he would keep Freud in business. Well, seriously.
My favorite thing with Roger is actually when he says that concretions, sedimentary concretions, are actually like granules of fossilized collagen. And like, okay, but that doesn't, like the scale, he doesn't have a consistent scale.
Mm-mm.
Because if that were the case, and also it were the case that cave is actually a vagina, the concretion should be a lot smaller, but they're not. So, like, how big are the cells of these giant creatures? And sometimes they're just normal-sized cells. Sometimes they're, like, colossal planetary scale. Sometimes they're in between. Like, no consistency.
Like, his whole thing about, like, dragons being miles and miles long just because it's, like, a small, hilly range or whatever, it's just preposterous.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, look at all this, this is definitely blood inside the rock. I'm like, no, man, those are minerals, but okay. Also, I really like what Savage Cobra, kind of official, says. The existence of a giant vulva implies the existence of a giant egg, but he spells it AIG.
Nice.
Egg.
Also, Blitz Winters for $5 says, return to fully functional systems, he says, while showing an image of a fish that clearly still doesn't have eyes. Yeah, seriously.
Again, where are the eyes?
Alright, well, this is not actually about Roger. We're just deflecting away from
Yeah, we're just
Randy.
deflecting. Listen, I'm really good at this, like, deflecting and wasting time just because I don't like Randy Guliuzza, so...
But the thing is, the longer we do that, the longer it is that we have to deal with him. It's a double-edged sword.
Close-ups of this fish, you can see areas of the pigmentation. We're actually doing genetic quantification on...
Yeah, it's got cute freckles. I like it. I'm already on record saying I like this fish. I don't like Randy, but I like this fish. Pelagic Tunicate, Truth Official. I'm never going to be able
my children.
I'm never going to be able to say that name without laughing. For €2 says, from Bible, David collected one full AIG for wife. Ooh.
Oh. Amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing.
If you don't know that story from the Bible, you're missing out.
Oh boy. Anytime
Ooh.
someone tells me the Bible's boring or that it's like full of just boring stories, I'm like, you haven't actually read it, because any story that includes, hey, I want to marry your daughter, and the father going, bring me an entire collection of foreskins.
Look, I will say,
that's pretty hardcore.
The Bible has boring sections.
It does.
It also has very not boring sections.
Not boring sections.
All right, here we go.
On these fish to see exactly which genes and other areas are being upregulated and downregulated in these altogether. Now, in just a real quick summary, because then I'll be able to jump through some other slides on my second talk, you end up having two completely contradictory and contrary ways of looking at creatures. The evolutionary way is a non-designed, it's a random mutation way in which they approach things externalistically. They see the environment as shaping and molding creatures on that. And they see creatures not as active problem solvers, but they see creatures as basic passive modeling clay that are being shaped and molded by their environment.
All right, so that's not really true, and we're going to take a drink and talk about it. Yeah, what is the correct response? So it's actually a pretty well-known phenomenon that various organisms actually do shape their environment and also adapt to it. So one famous example, if you're in North America or parts of Europe, is the beaver. Beavers reshape entire river systems by damming them, by creating still ponds upstream of their dam, by changing the course of rivers, all this stuff. And this is in an effort...
They just hear running water and they're like, unacceptable!
Yeah, beavers hate the sound of running water. They just can't...
Unacceptable!
Yeah. Anytime a beaver hears running water, it's like, okay, time to go cut down a tree and plug up whatever is letting this water run. Because I just can't deal with it. It's too much.
It's misophonia, biologically.
Yeah.
Just, no running water! None.
But also there are other examples, right? So elephants famously keep the open grasslands and fractured woodlands in these African elephants, right? African savanna elephants, Loxodonta africana. They keep the forests from spreading into the grassland by literally knocking down trees. So the African savannas would be much reduced, if not gone altogether, if not for the actions of things like elephants. Further, hippopotamus drastically change the water chemistry of various places where they live, which actually fertilizes algae, which then provides a basis for a future food chain for all sorts of fish and microscopic organisms and arthropods and things, right? These are organisms that are actively changing their environment. And this is not something that is unknown to mainstream science. And by mainstream science, I just mean science, because what Randy's doing isn't that. Randy is a cosplay scientist, not an actual scientist. And yeah, also, it's well known that organisms, again, with acclimatization, can solve problems in their environment by adjusting themselves on an individual basis without having to evolve every last aspect of that. But none of that, again, gets Randy what he needs. Because remember, Randy has basically the same model as AIG. Kinds at roughly the family level, and different families are what gets off the ark and goes on to, propagate and produce the modern species. And he needs it to happen fast. They all do, right? Because here's the thing. When Abraham, according to the Bible, gets to Egypt, Egypt is a fully functioning civilization, right? There's a unified Egypt as far as we can tell. Which means that he's getting there by at least the Old Kingdom, and maybe we can be nice and say the Middle Kingdom, give him a bit of extra time, but either way, that's not the full 4,400 years since the flood. The thing is, we know by the Old Kingdom that the Egyptians have hieroglyphics and depictions of modern species. Right? Like they're depicting like modern lions separate from cheetahs. They're depicting many different like accipitriform. I don't know, the hawks and eagles, that group, whose name I can never say because it's just a word I can't say apparently. So like we know that like different kinds of eagles and vultures and hawks are already separate. Falcons, kestrels, already separate. Different kinds of songbird are already separate because they're depicting different actual birds. Same thing with like bovids, right? They're depicting different species of antelope in their art. We also know that around the same time, people in the Mediterranean are whaling modern species, right? Like they're like, this is a fin whale that we caught versus a right whale, and they're actually hunting known modern species, not their kind ancestor thousands of years ago. And the same thing, when we see elephants in ancient art, they're modern elephants. They're not depicting some common ancestor, nor are they depicting mammoths. So Randy has to get that much genetic diversity and that much morphological change to happen before Abraham gets to Egypt. Basically, the entire modern diversity has to be established. There's no way he can do that with acclimatization, which is all he's talking about. Well, he's also talking about epigenetics, but those two things together will not get you from the common ancestor of the African elephant and the mammoth to all of Elephantidae. It's just not going to happen. For $4.99, Vandelli 1998 says, which Comic-Con are these cosplay scientists at? All I ever see is anime characters. Oh, they're at the Comic-Con that you don't want to go to. Trust me, you don't want to go to that Comic-Con.
Man, Johnny's dropping the Z Frank videos. I love this.
Nice.
This audience rules. Like, you guys watch the channels.
Yeah, well look, anyone who's here is probably also watching a lot of the channels that we like, because I make content that I like.
Yeah.
You know.
When you use, like, Local 58 clips.
I do use
like,
Local 58
Three
clips.
of us get it.
Hey, you know what? Those are there for those special few. If you guys don't know what Local 58 is, search it on YouTube after you're done with this show.
Analog horror, spooky times.
Yay! All right, here we go.
They do that because if you had creatures that could adjust themselves and could modulate themselves, that sounds way too highly designed and regulated.
I learned to modulate myself in music school.
Nice.
You can go up a half step.
I'm just gonna
It's a nice little subtle key change.
I'm just gonna take a drink for basically, for some reason, acclimatization seems designed in a way that violates evolution, which no, it doesn't. It's a well-known phenomenon. Nothing about that is in any way incompatible with modern evolutionary biology, or even Darwinian evolution, right? I don't think Darwin was sitting there like, no, nothing acclimatizes to new environments. I don't think that was one of his claims. I've read most of his stuff. I don't remember that.
So that is why it's their theory which is driving their presuppositions, where they see these creatures as passively modeling clay being molded. And adaptation occurs completely in an undirected fashion in their view.
No, it's not completely undirected. I hate this. Okay, take a drink.
Kurzgesagt! I love that. It's a great channel, too.
It is a great
The
channel.
little birds.
Yes.
Burbs.
Silver Harlow, who's been a member for 13 months. Wow, thank you very much, Silver Harlow. Is at the Tetrapod level, says, hey, that's like a baker's ear.
Yes! Amazing.
So
Love that.
I just lost my train of thought. We'll hit play. Whatever, it's fine.
It's an undirected way.
Undirected, that's what I was going for. Okay. See, whenever I lose my train of thought, I need like 2 more words from the Creationist. I'm like, now I remember. Okay, so let's talk about whether or not adaptation is directed. Because ultimately it is, right? So now you can say, well, who's directing it? And the answer is no one. But let's make a quick analogy. Let's say you have an avalanche, right? Those don't tend to go literally everywhere. They go on a particular path. Because they're directed by what? Well, the shape of the landscape and gravity. Now, is that a person doing that? No, but can you say it's undirected? Well, also not really, right? Like there's a coherent direction to the flow, and the flow stays in certain... Yeah, there's a vector to this, and it stays in certain channels, right? It doesn't just leap over mountains and fly into the air or something. So similarly, natural selection, which results in adaptation, has certain directions in which it will cause adaptation to go, and certain ones in which it cannot go, because those directions are less fit. The undirected part, the stochastic part, isn't the selection, it's the mutation. But when you take random mutation with directed selection, what you don't get is undirected adaptation. That's not how it works. Astral Nekomimi for $4.99 says, Questions and Revelation is a bag of Ashanti's favorite emote on Dapper Dinosaur channel. Oh, I'll take a drink for that.
That is quite clever. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Quite clever. Also, TD Lane is, he's going to be testing your boundaries here.
Uh-oh.
Said he's arrived to inform chat that pelagic tunicates are greater than dinosaurs.
Oh my god. I mean, they're definitely not. They're so small. And also, dinosaurs have brains. Unlike pelagic tunicates. Which is literally true. Although, to be fair, the only reason I think a brain is important is because my brain is telling me that. So, I don't know. It's like they say, the brain is the most important organ. According to the brain.
According to the brain.
Yeah. Can you really trust that thing?
Brains would say that.
Exactly.
What does it know?
Well, the only part that does seem
it
to
only
know.
gets information secondhand.
Oh, yes.
Ah!
Take that, brains.
Sitting in the dark.
Full of anxiety
sloshing
for no
around.
reason.
Yeah, electrified anxiety meat, just sitting in the dark, sloshing around for no reason.
Ugh. All right, here we go.
In which you have to have a copious amount of genetic change, which in this room we would all have different genetic changes, and if I were to expose you to different environments, some stressful ones, only the fittest would survive. And who would that be?
It would depend on the environment. That's the point.
Jennifer. That's who.
It would be Jennifer. He's going to say it's him. That's the joke he's going to tell.
Me, of course. I mean,
nonsense.
Yeah, we'll take a drink. I know they laughed, but I don't think it was funny, so I'm going to take a drink. Plus, never mind drinking rules. All right.
You know what? TD Lane's got us on this one, and I agree. Says not having a brain means no depression or existential dread.
I mean,
who's really winning?
You got
jellyfish and pelagic tunicates. That's who.
Yeah, or sponges
probably
also.
Fungi. They don't necessarily have brains.
I mean, I guess everything that isn't like a bilaterian is winning at that point.
I mean, fungus don't have anxiety.
No. Well, they're not bilaterians.
There you go.
Strawberry Vein for $5 says, Sweet Gilgamesh Randy at normal speed sounds even more condescending. Yeah, he... For some reason, he really does treat his audience like they're 4. And
Yeah.
But then again, they've been miseducated about science for their entire lives, hence why they're his audience. So
how would they know he's being condescending?
Right. Their understanding of science is probably actually not that much more advanced than your average 4-year-old. Because of Randy. Not because of their intellectual deficiencies, but because of people like him.
Imagine having, like, a captive audience, and you could present, like, slides and give them information and actually educate them, and instead you choose to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm presenting it to my audience, so maybe I'm not one to talk, but still.
You're also debunking it and explaining, like, actual facts.
Yeah. And also, sipping this whiskey.
There you go.
Yeah.
What kind of whiskey is it?
Oh, this is a Canadian blended whiskey.
Does it have a brand name?
It's a bottom shelf because
that's Is it like Wild Turkey kind of quality?
No. Well, yeah, quality wise, yeah, it's roughly there. Look, there's a reason I mix it with cola, and I'm not just sipping it straight. Yeah.
I respect that. Sometimes budget is the thing that wins out.
Yeah, well, look, this is work whiskey.
Yeah.
This isn't recreation whiskey. This is actually I've had people at the grocery store.
As my dad used to say, it'll get you drunk.
Exactly. I've actually had people at the grocery store on like Mondays or Tuesdays when I go in to buy like a bottle of booze for the show. And I'm like, oh, got the day off? And I'm like, nope, this is for work.
Yep.
I'm going to drink this on the internet for an audience. And they're like, oh, okay.
People are going to pay me to do it.
You don't have to, but I do appreciate it when you do. All right, here we go.
It's my story. I get to be the fittest in this story. So it is a hit and miss, trial and error system. of which only a few survive. And so in their view, adaptation and extinction go hand in hand.
Only kind of.
No.
We'll talk about that in a second. Aspen for 199 says, Sir Sick just took psychic damage, Canadian whiskey. Look, after Sir Sick goes through, it's the only whiskey left. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
He owns the rest of the whiskey. I mean, there's plebs
It's
like
hard.
me. Yeah, plebs like me can't get, like, scotch. It's all his. He's going to make sure he keeps drinking it so that he doesn't fulfill his deepest desires to destroy all of humanity for being so stupid.
Yeah.
Not
And
that
thank
I would
goodness for
matter.
that.
I wouldn't mind, because, you know, I'm not part of that
again,
humanity.
As I've said before, humanity sure has had a run. I can't say it's necessarily been a good one, but we've had one.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so does adaptation and extinction go hand in hand?
Not necessarily.
Right. The answer is, like, sometimes. So,
but it doesn't have to.
Right. If you have a relatively slow change of climate, unlike what we're experiencing right now, which is an extremely rapid change in climate, if you have a slow enough change in climate, you can actually have organisms adapt without any of them having to go extinct. Now, there's always a background rate of extinction, and that's just a thing that's been happening. It's not required by evolution, it's just a fact of the world. There's always been species going extinct and new ones arising. But just the act of adapting doesn't require anything to go extinct. Now, also, adaptive radiations, which I believe we've talked about before, especially I think when we're talking about, I think we talked about it on Matt with Maddie, when we were talking about Matt McLean. Adaptive radiations typically follow large-scale extinctions, so extinction can spur adaptation. But adaptation doesn't require extinction to happen. It doesn't depend on extinction happening in order to happen. All it requires is that environments change, which may or may not result in extinction. So yeah, the two are not intrinsically...
Yeah, I was going to say, to use a very imperfect example, if your ancestors came from Poland and you move to South America, all of Poland does not need to go extinct for you to now, like, survive and adapt to live in South America. Like, that just doesn't have to happen.
All right.
And they're just like, well, if there's... Because, again, Creationist, the ones that don't know anything about anything, rather than faking that they know stuff about stuff, if we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys, blah, 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 blah.
By the way, since it's been asked, I am a Ceratosaurus nasicornis, which is one of the two reasonably well-established Ceratosaurus species, if I remember correctly. It's not obvious. I don't look like
who are you gonna watch? Who are you gonna watch Power Rangers with if humanity goes extinct? Checkmate
the other dinosaurs. We'll have Dino Rangers where most of the dinosaurs are actually dinosaurs. That's what we'll do. Instead of 2 of the 6.
Yeah.
Vandalian 1998, there we go, I got it. For $5 says, staying hammered is the only thing keeping Dapper from going Jurassic Park and all the young Earth creatures.
Yes.
You have no idea, my man. It's so true. All right.
Yeah.
It is a completely death-driven view. And it is a very iterative, it says, shows on the bottom, gradual, and it's a very...
I mean, it is iterative. I'll give them that. You know what? I'll even drink for it being iterative. It is iterative.
But yeah, it doesn't have to be death-driven. Like, that's not a requirement.
It's not. Now, that things die is just a fact. And evolution isn't, going to ignore this fact. But, nothing in particular has to go die. In fact, we have biologically immortal organisms that don't actually have to die. Any given individual is going to at some point from something, most likely. But, there's no set clock on them. And, evolution still occurs in those species that have biological immortality. So,
that's one of the jellyfish, right? It goes back to the polyp stage.
Yeah, there's jellyfish. There are also some plants that are biologically immortal. But also, if you think about it, if you look at single-celled organisms that reproduce by mitosis, there's an unbroken chain going back all the way to the first cells without any dying in that whole chain from any currently existing such cell. So, for modern cells are from a essentially immortal lineage, where sure, side branches have died, but any of them that are still currently existing can trace all the way back, with cells dividing into cells, dividing into cells, dividing into cells, without ever finding an ancestor who died, because you didn't die, you divided. So,
Dun, dun, dun.
yeah, in single cellular organisms, death is not an inevitability at all. I mean, eventually it will be, right? Like the sun will expand to swallow the earth, and the universe will eventually die a slow, cold death. But in the meantime,
well, until then,
until then, I'll enjoy some whiskey. Actually, enjoy some whiskey for a small portion of the until time. Most of it, I won't be enjoying whiskey, but that's okay.
Linear process, or as Darwin himself said, it would be due to numerous successive slight modifications. Now, what I presented at my first talk was a completely different view.
Yeah, but Randy, everything you showed as evidence of your view directly contradicted you. So you tried to show it, you talked about it, but to say that you showed it is a little bit of an exaggeration, my friend. I was going to say friend, that's not fair. My guy I condescendingly might call friend, but who is actually kind of a despicable, deceptive jerk.
So just an acquaintance.
Yeah. Not even an acquaintance, right? Because I don't actually know Randy. Like, I've never talked to Randy. Oddly enough, you could say Kent Hovind is an acquaintance. I've talked to him more than once.
Ugh.
Yeah. Well, both times I've talked to him, I did not know what I know now, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
TD Lane says nesting Matryoshka cells.
Yeah, basically. All right, here we go.
It is a designed, purposeful, adaptive process. You notice it's the exact opposite of everything that Darwin was talking about. Designed, purposeful.
Darwin's not the Pope of science.
No, he's not. But also, Randy, it's directly opposed because you intentionally created it to be opposed by misunderstanding evolution in the first place. Right? Like,
who was it this week that said everything disproves evolution if you misunderstand it hard enough?
Oh, yeah, that was in the comments of one of my videos. I don't remember who it was.
I'm going to go find out so I can credit them properly.
Yes, and that actually reminds me, when we take a break, when we come back, I have a thank you to announce to an anonymous but very generous person. So, yeah, find that out, and I'll also make sure I remember that. So, here's one of the things, though. In order to get this system for biological adaptation or whatever that Randy is proposing, that is the exact opposite of evolution, first he had to misunderstand evolution. He had to give it a straw man version of evolution, and then he specifically designed his explanation to directly contradict it. Even the other young Earth creationists know that that's dumb. There's a reason why he's the only one, and his organization are the only ones championing this. In fact, even Genesis Apologetics, who is hosting this, they can't actually figure out if natural selection is true or not, because they'll take pro-natural selection talking points from CMI or AIG, and then in the next sentence, they'll use anti-natural selection talking points from ICR without ever noticing that these are mutually contradictory. And that's because Genesis Apologetics is basically a bottom feeder among young Earth creationist organizations. They don't produce any of their own ideas. They don't produce even what passes as research, like AIG and ICR do, and CMI too. Like, yeah, they are the lowest of the types of creationist organizations. They're basically a better funded version of Creation Science Evangelism, Kent Hovind's organization. That's, yeah. Although, okay, better funded, and also I don't have any direct evidence of them being completely and criminally awful, like I do for Kent Hovind. So, I'll give them that. I don't have any evidence that they're physically abusing spouses or endangering children or anything like that. Whereas I do have a lot of that for Kent Hovind. So we'll give him a bit of a boost in terms of basic human decency.
Found it. It was SAHB.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
That literally is my favorite comment on possibly any of Dapper's videos.
It is a really great comment. But also, I'm noticing a whole lot of people haven't hit like. If you could do that, it would really help the channel out. All right, let's hit play. We've got a little bit more time before we take a break. And then when we come back from the break, I will thank my anonymous gift giver and give a quick little commercial, and then we'll get back into it.
Adaptive. And in this particular case, we're not looking at the environment. Why would you look at the environment, what a creature would do? You look at the creature, you look internally.
You would look at the environment because that's the thing it has to adapt to.
And you see active creatures shaping themselves to fit a changing world. Now the question would be, was Earth always a dynamic place, even from the beginning of creation?
Yes.
Yes, we all know that, Randy.
Goodness gracious, the Earth is like extremely dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at volcanoes. Look at earthquakes, seismic activity, weather patterns, hurricanes, dust storms. Goodness gracious, my man.
Dust storms are like the only natural disaster we get. And as natural disasters go, they're not so bad.
I can't say that I wouldn't take one of those over a hurricane because hurricanes are the worst.
Oh,
if I would never have to experience one again, that'll be too soon.
I would take like 50 dust storms over one hurricane.
Ugh.
Dust storms are just like, stay inside, don't look at the wind, you'll be fine. Stop your car.
Yeah, that's what hurricanes are like. Hey, did you want straight line winds and heavy thunderstorms and tornadoes all at the same time in alternating rain bands? Here you go.
Yeah, and the answer to that question is no. No, nope. I didn't.
Do not want.
All right, here we go.
The answer is yes. There was day and night. The stars were given for signs and seasons. Even in California, you get seasons. And you found out you can get a lot of snow.
That's not funny. It wasn't funny the first time.
Yeah, we'll take a drink for jokes that didn't land with the California doesn't have seasons, even though it very much does.
All of California is Southern California, even though it's like the third biggest state in the union.
Even Southern California has seasons.
Yeah, it does.
Like the Mojave Desert is not like an unchanging, no seasons place. It has a wet season, it has a hot season, and it has a cold season.
It snows in the desert. I don't know if he's aware of that.
He's probably not. Also, Vandali 1998 for $5 says, "You're not Kent. The best praise Dapper can give a young Earth creationist." I
mean, to be fair, the bar is in hell, but you know, hey.
Yeah, it's not far from the best praise I can give a young Earth creationist. I have there are a couple, maybe 3 or 4 young Earth creationists who I've said much nicer things about. Including Sal, including Peter from Paleologos, Todd Woods, I don't remember. The fact that both Wood and Woods exist as last names is always baffling to me, and I hate it, kind of, because I never remember which one I should use.
Yeah, Lucky the Lemur's correct. Southern California, it does freaking snow. It snowed here like a couple months ago, actually. It was snowing in Burbank, and the valley actually had hail. It was ridiculous. There was like, not like a foot or anything, but there was like a lot of snow, and people were freaking out because it's been so long.
Vadim Slamovsky Redchenko asks, is the Mojave in California? So the Mojave is split between Southern California, Northwest Arizona, and Southwest Nevada. So yeah, it does not correspond to state borders, which, I mean, neither does the Sonoran Desert, which is where I live. The Sonoran Desert there's a tiny little bit of it in California. It's in Baja California Sur, Sonora, and Arizona. And yes, several of those states are Mexican states. Most of the Sonoran Desert is in Mexico. So yeah, North America's climate zones are not well defined, not well distributed amongst the political borders.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
On those things. And then creatures were commanded to fill the earth. Now, when creatures fill other creatures' environments, do they change them for those creatures? Yes.
If you're humans, you do.
Yeah, you certainly if you're humans. But also, like we said, if you're an elephant or a beaver or a hippo, there's a lot of organisms that change the environment, and then a lot of organisms have to adapt to the change in the environment. Because one of the things that bugs me about this whole thing from Randy, right, is it seems like he's like, oh, we can just dismiss the environment. Well, then what are you adapting to? In order to predict what's going to happen in terms of change to an organism for adaptation, you have to look at the environment. Because even under Randy's model, where like beetles can just radically transform their adult bodies to look like ants, which again, not a thing, Randy, even though Randy thinks it's a thing, they still only do it in response to an environment full of ants, according to him. So his model doesn't let you ignore the environment like he keeps telling you to. It's very weird. It's like he can't even think through the actual logical consequences of his own idea.
I love that it's like, can creatures, or do creatures move in and, change the environment? Beavers do. They just move into a neighborhood and they're like, all this running water, yeah, that's gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of a whole bunch of trees in order to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, here we go.
Times.
Fill your environment, I change your environment for the better on that. So we
Not
change these things.
That was supposed to be a joke about himself, I think. I'm going to take a drink for how bad it was. Like, Randy's changing their environment for the better by being there.
I wish I could throw tomatoes through the screen.
Well, we could find out where the ICR headquarters are. I think it's in Texas. We could just go there with tomatoes and find them.
I don't want to go to Texas. I'm all right.
I mean, I get that. Yeah, I get it. Savage Cobra, kind of official, for $2 says, AIG is a woodland collocated with shrubland. It's not very obvious, but I can tell what you're going for, and we're going to go for it. Thank you. Okay. I do remember the easiest way to have me drink a whole bunch is gifting some memberships. Remember that time that 15 came in before I was done with the first 5?
Yeah.
Oof, that was... I think that happened once when I was drinking pina coladas, and I definitely got brain freeze.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, because my pina colada was made with crushed ice, so... Yeah, it was... When I was done with those, I was just like, oh my goodness. My entire face is numb and painful somehow at the same time. All right, here we go.
All the time. So Earth was always a dynamic place, and creatures always had to be adaptive. And we don't...
You know what, Randy? That's true. I'll take a drink. You were correct about that. But also, it is time for us to take a quick break, everybody. I need to refresh this now fairly watery beverage. I'm sure Vishanti could use some extra coffee. Also, Strawberry Vein for $5 says, Dear people who have never been to SoCal, Hollywood movies are not real. They're really
very, very correct.
Yeah, you know what? That's correct, and I will take a drink for it being correct. As someone who's been
Laughing
to SoCal.
Coyote, when we get back from the break, Laughing Coyote ping me because there's a thing. I have a mission for you if you choose to accept it.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes.
All right, guys. So we are going to take a quick break. We will be entertained by the musical stylings of Beethoven. Plus, I mean, because of this capitalist economy, we're not quite at the post-scarcity Star Trek universe yet. I'm also going to insert some ads because I like to be able to do things like not be homeless and eat food. So we will see you guys on the other side of the break. And yeah, enjoy the music. Okay, we are back. Welcome back, Vishanti.
So,
Oh, we're back. I've got a fresh drink. And also, I want to say a very special thank you. So, last stream that I did live, I basically said, hey, there's something you want to get me from the wish list, get me the Dishonored role-playing game core rulebook. I know Bent is interested in playing it too. And so, right after that stream, I went and took a look at my wish list, which I actually have set to like not surprise me, so that I know when things are purchased. And that's mostly because I want to know if something's on the way, so I can be like vigilant, so that it doesn't get taken by like porch pirates, right? So I noticed that had been purchased. But what I didn't notice is that what was also purchased was the Power Rangers RPG core rulebook, as well as the Eagle Moss Guide to the Klingon Fleet. So those all came in, and so when the package came in, I'm looking at it and it says heavy. And I'm like, this is just one book, isn't it? So I pick it up and I'm like, oh my goodness. And so the first thing I'm thinking is like, did Modifius Games just make like a gigantic rulebook? So I open it and it turns out no, they didn't. In fact, their rulebook is actually a very cool, relatively small size. It's easy to carry around. But it also came with 2 other books that I was not expecting. Unfortunately, the gift receipt didn't have a name on it. It just said from space period, which is way better than a space comma. And yeah, so I want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And that leads into the quick commercial area, which is to say that, hey, this channel is almost entirely funded by direct support from fans like you in the chat. You hitting like and sharing and commenting helps the channel grow in terms of viewership and subscriber count. All the people who super chat, who pledge to the Patreon, who join the channel as a member, all of that is what keeps the channel going. Because quite frankly, I could not keep up with a 3 video a week pace if it weren't for you guys making it so I can keep doing this, like 50, 60 hours a week, basically. Because, yeah, I really, really want to make this channel the best I can. Now, I can't do it without you guys. So if you are currently someone who is thinking about supporting, the best ways to do so are joining the Patreon or the membership, or both if you really want to. The Patreon has a 10% discount for joining annually. Or no, it's a 12% discount, I believe. You can get your name in the credits. There's months of early access. If you look at my new videos as they come out, there's usually comments that are 4 months old. Why is that?
mm-hmm.
Because my patrons and members get to see it 4 months early. So, yeah, consider that. There's also an Amazon wish list for me. There's also one for Vishanti if you click through to her channel, which is linked in the description. And also there's a merch store where you can buy t-shirts, baby onesies, phone cases, stickers, blankets, pillows. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. And actually, Bent bought one of the blankets, and his blanket is the first one I saw that was the one I'm selling, and I'm actually impressed by the quality of their fleece blankets over at Teespring. They're actually really nice. And also, I believe Too Young to Feel As Old has got one, and is pretty impressed with it too. So that's that. Real quick, Mike Amos, who's been a member for 2 months and is at the Tetrapod level, says, home now, so I can send a proper Godzilla, so we will take a drink for Godzilla. But then, also, Savage Cobra Kinda Official has gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, which went to Robert Adset, Ian Debunked, Dragon Spartan 90 Official. I love the official. Snorefoot and Dustin Carroll. So, thank you very much. I will take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1.
While you're doing that, Fade to Grace says that Dapper's just trying to hide the fact that his members are actually time travelers.
3. 4. And 5. Well, if that were true, then the easiest way for you to gain access to time travel technology would be to join the channel. Because what do we want? Time travel.
Access codes.
Well, time travel. But when do we want it? That's irrelevant.
Yep.
Okay.
I love Stephen Hawking trolling people that were talking about time travel. It's like, no, I threw a party, but I didn't announce it until afterward.
Yes.
It's so good.
I did like I don't watch a whole lot of Rick and Morty, but there was an episode where there was like a time traveler convention, and like the parking lot was full of all of these like sci-fi classic time travel ships. Like there was a police box and a DeLorean and whatnot. And I was like, I appreciate all the references that are just in the background, right? They're not even like drawing lots of attention to it. And yes, also I am aware of the unpleasant behaviors associated with the creators of Rick and Morty, but I don't think they were
cool if people who make media would not be garbage humans. That would be awesome.
I think there's actually something that kind of goes along with like just artistic talent, and I think some of it is like having some problems.
It's not necessarily that on its own. I'm not going to get off on a rabbit trail about this, but the Hollywood system is just insulated.
Oh yeah, there is
protect abusers and garbage people. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
there's still people who want Roman Polanski to come back and make more movies.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's like no. If he comes back, he's going straight to jail.
He's gonna go straight to jail. Yeah,
as he should for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying his movies were bad. They weren't. There are many really good Roman Polanski movies. However, he belongs in prison. So, yep. Anyway, turns out
break the law and do that stuff with a minor. Just saying.
Horrible people can make good art, and it doesn't negate the fact that the art is good because they're horrible, nor does their good art excuse their horribleness.
It just makes it really hard for me to enjoy sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're gonna make media, can you please not be a terrible person? That way that people can enjoy your stuff without,
Just watch Keanu Reeves movies. I don't think anyone has anything bad to say about Keanu Reeves.
Correct. I mean, look, I even know people in the industry who have worked with him, and everybody's like, no, he's like legitimately nice. He's very kind. I'm like, yes.
Good.
See, it's not impossible.
It's just unlikely. Nice. All right, we're gonna hit play.
Don't see it as a unregulated, but adaptation is a highly regulated, rapid, and repeatable process. And
well, it's not always rapid, because as we can see right now with current anthropogenic, that's the word. I was going to say centric, but I was like, nope, brain, that's the wrong one. Anthropogenic climate change. We're seeing rates of extinction that have not been seen on Earth outside of mass extinction events. We're currently living through the next mass extinction as a result of adaptation not being rapid enough. Rapid is one of those weasel words, right?
Yeah, I was say on what scale?
Right. It's like, oh, you're constitutionally guaranteed in the United States a speedy trial. Well, what constitutes speedy? Doesn't say anywhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't say anywhere. Basically, the only way you can say that your constitutional right to a speedy trial has been violated in the United States is if there are for no reason delays, right? Like if the judge is just like, we'll hold the trial in like 5 years. I mean, like, why? And he's like, I just don't want to deal with it until then. Like, okay, then sure. But if your trial drags on for like 3 years because there's just a lot of evidence to go through, witnesses and whatnot, what are you going to do? Rapid doesn't mean anything on its own.
Also, there are people who die in pretrial detention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after they've been held for like 15 years, and it's just like, oh, when's the trial? Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why
think
carefully before waiving your right to a speedy trial, which is very common to do in the United States.
Yeah, don't do that. And also, pro tip, no matter how innocent of a thing you are, don't speak to the cops.
No.
And if you feel like you have to, get a lawyer first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my legal advice is don't do anything until you have a lawyer.
Yep.
That's not even legal advice. That's just go hire a lawyer, damn it.
Yeah, lawyer first. Doesn't matter if you're innocent of everything ever. Hire a lawyer.
Yep. That's like
there you go.
The only legal advice I'm comfortable with giving. Just like the only medical advice I'm comfortable with is like, hey, don't eat poison and also go see your doctor.
Yeah, that's a very solid advice.
Yeah. Other than that, no medical advice from me because I'm not a doctor. But go see one.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
And that they produce solutions which are not haphazard and hit and miss or trial and error, but with a design process, you produce solutions to problems that are highly targeted, highly purposeful.
Okay, so I guess it's time to talk about the Luria-Delbruck experiment again. I'll take a drink for Randy getting basically everything wrong. So, what's the Luria-Delbruck experiment, you might ask, if you haven't been watching and, like, memorizing every last thing I say? Which I hope you're not. That's a lot of dedication that I don't think is entirely appropriate for my channel. I should have other things to memorize than just me. Maybe you are anyway. I don't know. Anyway, the Luria-Delbruck experiment was conducted way back in, I think, the 40s or something. Like, it's nearly a century ago. So there was this open question at the time, which was, are mutations something that occurs as a result of environmental pressures, or do they simply happen regardless of environmental pressures, and then some of them are selected for? So the experiment was conducted on bacterial colonies, right? So first, what was done was bacterial colonies were grown, and then small sections of the same colony were separated into additional founding colonies. The reason for this is to try to make sure that you had closely related groups, right? So then these new colonies, which are starting out basically as clones of each other, are grown, and then separately, they're exposed to ever-increasing levels of antibiotics. Now, it was known at the time that bacteria could develop antibiotic resistance, right? Even by the 40s, penicillin had declined in usefulness in medicine. In fact, at this point, now in 2023, I mean, Vishanti, when was the last time you heard of anyone being prescribed penicillin?
It's been a hot minute.
Right. It's because it's basically useless now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the bacteria that infect humans have been so exposed to penicillin that basically all of them are immune. So we've had to move on to new antibiotics. However, in this experiment, the prediction is twofold. So there's two ideas, right? One hypothesis: mutations occur in response to environmental pressures and are therefore predictable and are caused by the organism themselves. Whether or not it's an intelligent cause, it's still some stimulus comes in and in response the organism causes a mutation to occur. The other option is there are just background mutations that happen to occur, and some of them may or may not be useful. So the prediction for the first one, where mutations are targeted, which is what Randy's trying to go for here, would result in all of the bacterial colonies having similar amounts of resistance to the antibiotic when it's introduced. That's because all of them would tend to induce the same intentional mutations, which is Randy's idea. Now, the other idea, that mutations simply happen in the background and then can later be selected for, would predict that you would have variable amounts and timing for antibiotic resistance. So some colonies might not ever develop antibiotic resistance. Some would simply start with a high degree of antibiotic resistance, and some would develop it later in varying degrees. Vishanti, would you like to know which hypothesis was supported and which one was rejected? Can you guess?
Well, before I do that, Mark Smith mentioned that even amoxicillin is rare these days. I haven't heard of anybody getting amoxicillin since I was a kid.
Same.
So, yeah.
Yep. Which hypothesis do you think was rejected?
The one where they don't develop resistance? Is that a choice? Because I wasn't painful.
Oh, okay. I'll let you.
Sorry,
my know.
Capacity to multitask was
it's okay.
Narrowed.
It's okay. So the one in which mutations are targeted by the organism for environmental pressures was the one that failed to be supported. The hypothesis where mutations simply happen in the background was very well supported. Basically, the different bacterial colonies did not have a similar response and level of resistance to the antibiotics across the different colonies that had been established. Directly contradicting everything that Randy is saying that is differentiable from evolution. Because you're going to remember, a lot of the things he's saying are just old news, right? Like, hey, did you know epigenetics is a thing? To which every evolutionary biologist on the planet is like, yeah, no, we know.
Yeah.
Did you know that organisms can acclimatize to new environments? To which every farmer says, yeah, no, I knew that. Not news.
We knew that.
But
Congratulations.
So the only place where he can differentiate himself from evolution are in places where we already know he's wrong.
Yeah.
and we have known it for nearly a century.
Dang,
So-
some of the chats had amoxicillin prescriptions recently.
Oh, interesting.
Cool.
I mean, look, it's also
Yeah,
got a long...
I mean, look, it's also one of those things where it can be effective in certain situations, but there's also strains of disease that are resistant to it. So yeah, your doctor obviously knows.
And also,
what
I
to
mean,
prescribe.
I don't have a lot of recent experience with antibiotics anyway. I think I've been on antibiotics twice in like the last 20 years.
I tend to be accident prone, so I've had to be on them a little more frequently, but it's, again, I'm accident prone, so I, crash my bike or I fall off a scooter or whatever, and it's like, gets skinned up.
We should get you a helmet.
Well, look, it wasn't the helmet, the lack of a helmet. It was my knees and elbows.
Elbow pads and knee pads, too.
Hate those joints and those little points of articulation, because, boy, I get those injured a lot.
All right,
not fun!
No, it's not. More Randy. The more Randy we get through, the less there is later.
Okay.
And directed to solve the challenges. Does this make sense?
Kind of, but not really. It only makes sense in so much as evolutionary biology has already accounted for it, Randy. The rest of it, no.
This is why it is a completely different view of Darwinian approach. Therefore, we can't just say we're going to live within the Darwinian explanation and tweak it.
Hey.
And
How many evolutionary biologists are using the Darwinian model right now?
So both all and none is basically the answer. So all
strictly
in a sense,
Darwinian.
Now, if you want to go, strictly Darwinian, none. There is not a single evolutionary biologist that I'm aware of that is saying that all that's around is natural selection and sexual selection, and is then using like Darwin's conception of how inheritance works, where it's like blended inheritance, gemules, and kind of a vague idea about mutations, but you can't even name them that. No one's operating under strict Darwinism in the sense of like what Darwin wrote. B2022 has gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Tex-Mex, Nasty Hobbits, Rusty Longshanks, Inobi Way, and Super Critical Snake were all gifted memberships. Thank you very much. All right, guys, send in tetrapods.
No, don't
tetrapods. Tetrapods.
Tunicates.
Tetrapods.
Tunicates.
No tunicates.
Tunicates.
No. TD almost has it. No, come on, guys. Don't send... Oh, the tunicates are winning. Gross.
Yeah.
So disgusting. But all right, here's 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
How many tetanus shots has your accident-prone self had to have? I actually had one about 2 years ago because I was bitten savagely by a feline who was feral, and I had to make sure that I wasn't gonna come down with something horrific.
So you said feral. I was like, wait, was this Boots?
No. She would never. She was too sweet. But no, it was a different feline. And I had to go get a shot, and that was not fun.
No, I wouldn't imagine so.
Not only did that hurt like a bee, the whole subsequent treatment and recovery period was...
Oh, yeah.
Because it had been pretty much a decade or more since I'd had my last booster. So I was like, you know what? I'm due for one anyway. We just knocked this out.
I gotta say, the worst shot I ever had...
Teeth like needles!
The worst shot I ever had was, by far, it's not even close, was the anthrax vaccine.
Oof.
It just made my arm a ball of pain and 0 muscle strength for days. I had to pick up my arm. I got it in my left arm because I'm right-handed. I had to pick up my left arm by the hand and shove it through sleeves manually with my right arm in order to put on shirts. It was the worst. It was way worse than the still bad smallpox vaccine, which creates a weeping pus-filled sore that you have to keep clean because the pus is infectious.
Can you...
Yeah.
Can you not? But
Sorry. Medical stuff, always fun. I think I still have the scar from the smallpox vaccine. It's a tiny little like discoloration on my arm. Anyway, here we go.
Modify it a little bit, Darwin was completely wrong.
I mean, we know
Darwin's
he
not the
wasn't.
Pope of Science. No one cares.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, he's not the Pope of Science, and also he was not completely wrong. The reason he's still famous is because he was right about very important things. And you saying, "Ah, yes, but fish can tan," isn't overturning that, Randy. Come on, and take a drink. B2022, there we go. Says it's a drinking stream. AIG are Ken's Kingdom of Kink Sticks. Ooh, Kink Sticks. Take a drink. So now I'm just imagining the entire AIG staff standing around for like Answers News, but they're all in like puppy play masks.
I don't want to think about that.
Too late. Now the mental image is right there.
I refuse.
Maybe some of them were into pony play too.
Gross. Gross for them. I'm not judging your kinks, but for them, gross.
You know what? I'm not even going to judge their kinks. They can get up to whatever they want as long as everyone agrees to it.
They're the most vanilla people alive, please.
You know, you say that, but do you know how many like evangelical preachers and whatnot have been found out to have like the craziest and definitely not approved like kinks and whatnot?
I mean, yes, but with those folks, nah.
No? You don't think Bodhi Hodge is all into some
That's
really
a different
crazy
story.
stuff?
Listen, I'm not going to go through which ones of them are plausible or not. I just don't want to think about it. Just be drunk.
Okay, so now we know that Vishanti thinks that Bodhi Hodge might not be all that vanilla. Good to know.
I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying I refuse to think about this any further. I'm not letting my neurons fire anymore on the matter. Good day, sir.
Okay, here we go. Here's more Randy.
On his
Savage Kobo kind of official points out they would probably be more agreeable if they were. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they need. They need it. There needs to be a kink day over at the Ark Encounter.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, okay.
Well, this stream just got demonetized.
Yes, guys, there's a Patreon because this stream is making much more money after this.
explanations. You have to leave it behind and go with a fully engineered, fully designed mechanism. And that
fully
adaptation,
automated.
therefore,
Hey,
is
space
something
communism.
that really...
Yes. But also, I don't even know what automation would mean in this context.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what?
Like, we're talking about, like, animals and plants adapting to environmental changes, and, like, it's automated. I'm like, kind of, what? Yeah, I guess. Like, I don't think anyone's directing it, which is odd, because that's what Randy seems to think is happening, is that it's not automated, that God's, like, maybe God set up the automation? I don't even know. Oh, Faye degree with AIG spot night at the Ark Encounter. Oh. Oh.
No, that's so cursed.
that can be next year. I can do that one. There's an event I probably won't be going to.
Laughing Coyote says, Vishanti, well, if it's demonetized, it's time for the F-bomb.
B2022 for £5 says, breaking news, German rock band Rammstein confirmed their cannon, which shoots white foam at their audience, will now be covered in AIG stickers.
Oh man. I would pay money to see Till Lindemann shoot the audience with AIG stickers.
I am taking a drink for that one. That's pretty great.
I would pay money to see him do that.
Oh my goodness.
That's so amazing.
So here's something interesting. I know someone who their father-in-law is a very strict fundamentalist Christian, and he's actually got like a YouTube channel where he lifts weights and reads the Bible, and it's really weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't allow like his family to listen to any secular music, but one of his few exceptions was actually Rammstein. because he couldn't understand the lyrics. He just liked the music. And I'm like, but wait, that's like one of the least like evangelical fundamentalist Christian things I can imagine. It's like, yeah, but he doesn't know what they're saying, so it's fine. Like, okay.
Nobody tell him.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you're enjoying the music. I will also say
look,
that
I love industrial music, and I love Rammstein, and yeah, I can't say that's a bad choice, but it's also like, lol, what?
It's very confusing. Strawberry Vein for $2 says AIG is a bag of kink day at the Ark Encounter. Also, my favorite video game trailer ever was the trailer for the remake of Destroy All Humans. That was basically just a music video for Ishville.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll send it to you later. It's really good.
I love that song.
Oh yeah, it's on several of my playlists. All right, here we go. Here's more Randy, because we're not actually here to talk about German industrial bands.
Really honors
named after
more because
air bases.
Yeah, that's not technically the topic.
adaptable things are some of the hardest things to engineer and design. Now I'm going to fast forward to the slides because we don't need to sign up for this again because you already have, right?
I did actually. I did it on air. Yes.
Okay, so let me go through. Well, you can read through the summing up on your notes, and let's slip forward to lunch. David Raves. Darwin's substitute. We can skip to slides. We can do this, and let's.
Did he say skip to sides? Skip to sides?
I wasn't listening.
You know what? Even if he did, it's fine. People misspeak. I'm not going to hold that against him.
I've misspoken a couple times on the stream already. I couldn't say Ralph Wiggum at the beginning, so...
You know what? I couldn't name the clade to which falcons and hawks and eagles belong, so, like, it's a thing. Which actually, now I'm going to double check it while I listen so that I can see if I can get that right and, like, redeem myself.
Let's get through to this. In other words, we were back to the creature. We want to explain how creatures can do all of these things. And I pointed out during my last talk that words were really, really important. It's the way you characterize adaptation, which is an indicator of workmanship, and all of these characteristics are an indication of origins. And I went through all of these highly...
I want to know what made him decide to use the Family Feud, like, design aesthetic. It's just weird to me. Like, survey says... Also, by the way, accipitriformes, which is a word that there's no way I'm ever going to say that fluently. But yeah, that's the group that, like, has eagles and hawks and vultures and whatnot. Accipitriformes. B2022 for €10. £10. Says, promise Vishanti I do an AIG A to Z. So AIG are an Australian's archaic assortment of anacondas and aubergines with an affinity for being affected by aphrodisiacs. Technically, that's not the right use of affected, but you know what? I'll let it pass and I'll take a drink anyway.
Acceptable and also amazing.
Yeah. Affected with an A like that means basically that your emotions were influenced by the thing in question.
Did you catch that my response all started with A's?
I did, actually, yeah.
There you go.
Very nice. Anyway, here we go.
Really descriptive words which are characterizing an engineered way of adaptation. And we went through all of those different kinds of words right there. And I emphasize...
Randy, it doesn't matter how you describe things, it matters how they are. You can come up with all sorts of descriptive things that are diametrically opposed to things you don't like. It doesn't actually change how reality works.
If he says designed and engineered long enough, he thinks it'll be true.
Oh, by the way, I believe we've probably gone past your feeder mark.
Oh.
What's your mark for feeders for next time?
65 was, I think, for today.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they hit it last time, but I'm not like 100%. So
I'm pretty sure you now owe them 2 feeders in a row. Then. Okay,
that's doable.
Maybe you could do it with having both feeder cuffs on at one time. I don't know. I don't know all the rules.
See.
All right, here we go.
That it was the correspondence between functional elements in creatures and those in man-made things, that you have the same systems in creatures operating in the same way as a man-made thing, doing similar ways, which is really, really indicative of that these creatures were really, really designed from the beginning.
It's not,
Randy.
though. I'm going to take a drink. This is... I hate this idea.
Just gonna make stuff up and say it a lot. That'll
Yeah.
make it true.
So it is true to some extent that a lot of biological systems that perform functions similar to man-made systems have similar mechanisms and modes of operation. So, for instance, humans have designed swamp coolers, right, that use the evaporation of water, carrying away the latent heat of evaporation to then cool off certain spaces. I remember one of the times when a swamp cooler was the most important to me, because I was working in a load center at a, believe it was a, what was it? I think it was like some place that was storing data, like one of those places, for some company. I don't even remember what company it was. It was one of the bigger tech companies, right? Because a lot of those have moved into Arizona because, well, sorry, California, but you're not all that business friendly in a lot of cases. So a lot of tech companies are putting their data centers in Arizona. So I'm at a data center, and I'm in this outdoor load center, and it's the summer, so it's 100 degrees. But this is all big electrical equipment. It's giant pieces of copper and whatnot. Not like your super temperature sensitive electronics, right? This is the main power provision. However, without the swamp cooler, I probably couldn't have actually done the job because, it's 45 Celsius out. And I'm trying to work with electrical equipment. It's probably not going to work. So yeah, this big old swamp cooler. But here's the thing. Swamp coolers work on the same basic principle as sweat, right? You sweat, the sweat evaporates, and that latent heat of vaporization carries heat away from you into the atmosphere. Okay, cool. Plane wings have a similar cross-section to bird wings because both those shapes produce lift, which you need to fly. So basically what Randy is saying is because the laws of physics impose restrictions on what kinds of things can do what other things, and that therefore there's commonality between design systems and evolved systems, that means that evolved systems couldn't have evolved. But that doesn't follow at all. Evolution is a system by which organisms can evolve to do, or can, I don't want to say evolve because it's already in the definition. I don't want to use the word in the definition, but whatever. Organisms as populations can change to perform functions. And if those functions are constrained by the laws of physics, then they will have to perform them in ways that correspond to the laws of physics, which is all functions. If humans design a system to perform a similar or identical function, then they also have to keep the system consistent with the laws of physics to perform the function. So this whole idea that there's commonality between human-designed things and organism-designed things, or, evolution, quote-unquote, designed things, as an indication of intelligent design just doesn't work, right? Both intelligent design, or creationism, or whatever you want to call it, and evolution both predict that there should be this commonality just because of the constraints of the laws of nature. Now, we've got a membership chat and a super chat. So Savage Cobra, kind of official, for $5 says, was he ever a working engineer? I don't know, but I would suspect yes. Could you imagine having someone speaking to you in a professional capacity in that tone of voice? No, but I'm not sure that he would. I think he probably treats his audiences in a more infantilizing way than he would have, say, treated his colleagues at an engineering job. But I might be wrong about that. Maybe that's why he stopped being a working engineer. Lord Crocosquirrel, who's been a member for 3 months, says, in parentheses, no, answers to Genesis, is a felt dice container packed full of dilapidated ding-dongs, followed by a Mothra and a Godzilla emoji. So, we'll take 2 drinks for that. Mostly because I'm thirsty. Here's 2. Also, B2022 says, AIG are a yurt of yellow snow-yielding yin-yangs. Nice. Don't eat the yellow snow. Here we go.
And so now picking up, this is why Richard Dawkins, who is a full atheist, a complete unbeliever,
Atheist.
why he can say,
not a half atheist.
What does it mean to be a half atheist? Is that
My God.
I'm not sure if there's a God, because we have a word for that too. Yeah.
He's a full atheist.
Yeah.
Well, see, my grandmother was an atheist, so I'm a quarter.
Oh, is that how
Quarter
that
atheist.
works? Well, thanks for letting us know he's a full atheist.
Yeah.
Richard Dawkins is not the he's not the wing of atheists. Full atheist.
Yeah, he's not the leader or the president of atheists.
No.
He's also a transphobe, so toss that man
Yeah.
in the trash.
Look, there's not a lot
Throw
of...
the whole man away.
Yeah, I am not inclined to defend Richard Dawkins.
Nope.
Or is it Dawkins, as Armando Calvo would have it?
Oh yeah, Dawkins.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, which if you're watching my channel, chances are you have, because I see the metrics. Check out Logic's reviews of Armando Calvo or Christ Righteous's books, quote unquote.
Quote unquote, yeah.
It's-
They're only books in the barest definition.
Look, they're similar in quality to the books written by Donnie Badinsky or Bat Nyler for Standing for Truth's channel.
They are to books what JM Truth is to cinematography and photography.
But at least they haven't been abandoned.
Yeah, they...
All right, here we go.
when he looks at humanity, and as humanity looks at creatures, he can say that we are entirely accustomed to the idea that complex elements is an indicator of premeditated, crafted design. And this is probably the most powerful reason for the...
Did he mean to say fool atheist? That's what Reverend Howell is pointing out. Instead of full?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but I'm pretty sure he meant full, as in, like, he's not sort of wishy-washy on his atheism. He's like, I'm definitely an atheist, like a full-throated, God, no exist kind of guy. I mean, I guess maybe that's not what he meant.
I don't know.
All right.
Belief held by the vast majority of people that have ever lived in some kind of supernatural deity. What he's saying is this: when people look at creatures, they intuitively sense. Birds have wings. These are designed for purpose.
No, you don't intuitively
You don't need to intuitively sense them. You can look at them with your eyeballs.
Yeah, I'm going to take a drink for you can intuitively sense birds have wings, even though what he's trying to say is that you can sense the design.
But can't intuitively sense that. How do you intuitively sense design?
Well, you just have a feeling that something was designed, I guess. A gut
well,
feeling.
Feelings are more important than facts. So.
Thanks, Ben.
Gosh.
Are you saying that the facts don't care about feelings?
Feelings don't care about your facts if you're a creationist.
Well, actually, it turns out those are both true things. Most people's feelings don't care about facts, and facts don't really care about your feelings. Yeah. Not loath as I am to generally agree with Ben Shapiro. He is right when he says that facts don't care about your feelings. He's just usually wrong about what the facts are. So, but yeah, he is right about his catchphrase. T.D. Lane, who's been a member for 14 months, my goodness, at the tetrapod level, says a bag of phallic eggplants or an AIG with the AIG or a bag of dicks emoji. Thank you very much, man. Drink. All right, here we go. Richard Dawkins and Randy.
And that they were highly crafted and that they were created. And therefore, we concluded that a design-based explanation is a theistic explanation, fully theistic.
Goodness.
You did decide that, but you actually didn't justify it, because non-God things could be responsible for designing life on Earth, and you didn't rule those out in any way. You didn't even really try. You just kind of defaulted to the Christian God, which I understand, because you're a Christian, and it makes sense why you would do that. But that's not actually sufficient for non-Christians or people who are just generally skeptical about theism in general. So
yeah, I mean, even if someone disproved the entire system of descent by modification and common ancestry and stuff like that, it would not only not prove that God did it, it would definitely not prove that that specific God did it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big hill to climb.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. We got a little bit more in. We actually don't have a whole lot more time, so we're close to when we can take a break from Randy, because unless he finishes up, we're going to be back to Randy next time.
And therefore, evolutionists have to address those same things. They look at the same baby and they have to explain, how did these creatures get these features? And in their view, it's the cumulative adaptations that produce creatures and all of their abilities. So when evolutionists see that baby, they do not see something which was a fully functional, completed entity.
I know we've gone over this before, but yeah.
Any sense?
What does that mean? I mean, the baby is definitely an entity. It's complete,
and it's functioning biologically.
Right.
All those systems are ticking.
I mean, if you've ever had to change babies' diapers, you know they keep on functioning.
Yes, they do.
Goodness. Are they ever functionally biologically?
He's just like, look, if you think that's not a fully functional baby, if you just think that you can kill babies, just whatever, you must be an atheist, like, not humanist kind of brah.
Yeah, maybe that's what he's trying to get at. I really don't know. Because, like, I don't know anyone who would look at a reasonably healthy baby and be like, this is a half-formed monster that isn't even really a fully functional organism. Like, no,
no one
baby.
is saying that.
Yeah.
Literally no one.
B2022 says, there once was a man from Sicily who'd do anything for the right free to earn some bonbons. He took off his long johns and waved his AIG for all to see. Goodness.
Let me read this in limerick form.
Yes.
There once was a man from Sicily who'd do anything for the right fee. To earn some bonbons, he took off his long johns and waved his AIG for all to see.
Thank you. I lost the lyricism
Meter?
of it. The meter. So my bad on that. I blame the whiskey. I started off with a bit of a limerick because I figured that's what we were doing. But then, like, I just couldn't get the syllable divisions right, and I was like, I give up. So thank you for
That's okay.
fixing it.
You've had alcohols.
Yeah, a fair bit, actually. We're actually going to be doing an after show on the Discord server for some Power Rangers viewing, but after that, I'm probably going to go take a nap.
I'm probably going directly to the nap. But also later on, I'll be on Chesh's channel with Dr. Josh.
Yes, Dr. Josh Bowen, Digital Hammurabi. Check that out on Chesh's channel. If you want to drop a link in chat, Shanti, please do that, and I'll also add it to the description.
I will put that, if I don't hit the wrong button on my keyboards.
Here we go. More Randy while Vishanti's working on that.
Yay.
That's what we see when we see a baby or when we see a dog or when we see whatever it is. We see something that was directly created God, fully functional, and complete. It has
It's
the
already
ability
complete.
to adapt,
What are you
but the
on
dog
about?
is complete. It's a
Yeah, I don't know what it would mean for it not to be complete.
Is that incomplete? What in the world?
All right, here we go. I'm adding it. Vishanti on
Hooray.
Chesh's channel. Boom. Link has been added. Now it's also in the description, everybody. All right. And what time is that starting?
It's starting in approximately 4 hours, just less than.
So that'll be 6 p.m. Pacific.
6:30.
Okay.
6:30 Pacific.
6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern.
I believe so. Yeah.
All right. If you're in any of the other time zones, do the math.
completed thing. When evolutionists see any creature, it is never complete. It is.
Does he mean? Okay, look. If
this
he means,
is nonsensical.
Yeah, I guess you could say like it's not done evolving, but that's not a thing that individual creatures do. This baby isn't evolving. Humans are evolving as an entire population. I'm just going to take a drink for like the continual misunderstanding of evolution, and it's hard to imagine that it's not intentional. Yeah,
it's literally intentional at this point. Populations evolve.
Yeah, individual.
An individual having a mutation does not mean it's evolution. It's a population because it needs to be passed on to generation.
Yep. A new mutation.
Numpty, you utter spoon.
A new mutation in a baby might be evolution for the population, right? Because now that's a new allele that's come through. But it's not evolution for the baby. That's just the baby. That's just what it is.
Yeah, it's just the baby. It's to change in the population. Subsequent generations, my man.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Always in a state of change, and every feature, so you look at that little baby, every feature on that baby is an adaptation completely in a state of change.
No, not in the baby, in the population as a whole. That baby is what the baby is, right? Within the realms of phenotypic plasticity and epigenetics and, acclimatization, the baby is what it is. That's not going to change anytime soon. It's the whole population that's in a state of adapting to new environments and changes in allele frequency and all these evolution things. Strawberry Vein for $5 says, is anyone else uncomfortable with how incessantly Randy uses the word creature? Even in reference to the human baby, just seems a little sus. So the reason I think he's doing that is because the word creature is actually derived from the same place as creation. And in at least Christian theology, there's a distinction between creature and creator that's drawn. Like, this is a widely held distinction in Christian theology that goes all the way back to like the Christological controversies that were the cause of the first few ecumenical councils in Christian history. And so by saying creature, what he's trying to emphasize is the createdness of the things he's referring to that way, at least as far as I can tell. And I think I have a good reason to think that. I've read a fair bit of Christian theological literature. So, yeah, I think that's the reason he's doing that. Now, in modern general English, outside the realm of Christian theology, the word creature has gained
taken on a derogatory, non-human connotation.
Yeah, but that is not the connotation that it has in Christian theological literature. In fact,
I don't think he's this smart enough to use it theologically. I think he's trying to use it as a derogatory.
See, the thing is, I'm not sure, because the thing is, most creationists have as their background a lot of Christian theological literature. It's one of the reasons why they say evidences, right? Because that also comes out of Christian theological literature.
They're just repeating it because that's what other creationists are saying.
Well, look, I'm willing to give him more of a benefit of a doubt.
I'm not as generous.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah. So I think that that's probably what he's doing, is he's using it in the context of Christian theology, but maybe he's not, and maybe you and Vishanti are right, Strawberry. I mean, may I call you Strawberry? Anyway, here we go.
Are you going to wait 20 seconds for this?
Yeah, I'll pay attention to see if Strawberry Vein says yes or no, whether or not I can call them Strawberry.
Also, I'm very interested. Mark Smith says, be sure to say uwu at least once because Sirius hates uwu, and tell him Agamotto 1313. I'm like, Agamotto? Ooh, that's relevant to my interest.
It is. A B2022 for £10 says, AIG are Ham's huge haul of hairy horse hoses, helmet heads, and harvested lower human horns. AIG are a werewolf's wetland of wee willy winkle. Winkle watchers that whine about the wokes. Wow.
Oh no, not the wokes.
Oh no, the woke mind virus is getting them.
No.
Oh. Suddenly not everyone's going to be shitty to people who are sexual minorities for reasons that are dumb.
But we want to continue to be shitty.
Oh no.
Humanity's leaving us behind because people's morality evolves. Oh no!
Stop drinking Bud Light, which...
Yeah. No, that'll definitely teach them.
Yes.
I love how a bunch of them were like, well, we're just going to boycott all these other rainbow companies, and NASCAR was like, okay.
Yeah, right. That is one of the greatest things. It's like, you guys do realize how many companies have done...
You're in the vast minority, man.
Right.
Like...
And the thing is, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, these companies are great because they're, progressive companies. They're not.
Capitalism.
They're not, right? If they thought that putting swastikas on their beer would sell more than putting rainbows or, a trans person's face on their beer, they would absolutely do it. It's just funny to watch all the people raging about them doing it and then still getting sales boosts when they do it anyway, despite the rage. Reverend Howell says...
that Agamotto 1313. I'm just like, oh, you named yourself Agamotto. That's awesome. More Doctor Strange fans, please.
Yes. Also, Reverend Howell sends a £2 30 super chat that I don't see a message for. So if it was intended to be a no message super chat, Reverend Howell, that's great. Thank you very much. If you did intend to send a message, but for some reason it didn't come through, do tag me at Dapper Dinosaur and let me know, and then I will make sure to read it out. Because I don't.
Giant says that Coors has a new variety in a bottle that looks like Red Stripe. I love Red Stripe. That's a great beer.
All right, here we go. A little bit more. We're almost there.
Or we have to ask, what was Darwin's purpose in forming his theory? You have to understand it. And it is...
Randy.
Yeah, no one cares about Darwin. Look, Darwin is important for historical reasons. He's not important for scientific. He's really not.
It's just so frustrating to listen to them. Darwin this, Darwin that. No one cares, Randy.
I mean, look, I am slowly working on my Temple to Darwin set, which I will be using for a video. Yeah, you've seen the previews.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, so it's got a giant statue of Darwin based on the statue of Darwin from the British Museum. It's got cool pillars that I made in 3D. It's, it's gonna be cool. It's not ready yet. So.
Nothing Coyote, it's not a competition. I like both of those characters.
Oh.
Not.
I like Doctor Strange and I love Zimnya Soldat.
You're allowed to like more than one thing.
Mm-hmm. I have several characters on my wall. In fact, I actually have several Winter Soldiers on my wall right now. And they're to the other side of my Doctor Strange art.
But Slamovsky Rodchenko says, may I be a Mendeleevis? Mendeleevis, yeah. Yeah, sure, if you want to, I guess. I mean, we know way more than Mendeleev did, but
It is not
the Darwin and Piltdown Man and Nebraska Man are still taught in school, Johnny says.
No, they're not. Well,
No,
Darwin is to some extent. But yeah, Piltdown Man, no. Nebraska Man was never taught in school. So every time someone was like, I remember being taught about Nebraska Man, I'm like, do you?
No, you don't.
Because that was never a thing. That just didn't happen. It's like the people who were like, I remember all the people who spit on people coming back from the Vietnam War. And it's like, hey,
No, you don't.
Fun fact, there's literally no evidence outside of anecdotes that ever happened. There's no footage. There's no first-hand accounts from the contemporaneous period.
Yeah.
It's like, as far as
literally just things that didn't happen.
Right. It's just, there's no evidence that it ever happened. Is it possible that anyone coming back from Vietnam was spit on? Yeah, it's possible. There's just no evidence that ever happened. Is it possible you heard about Nebraska Man in school? Yeah, there's just no evidence it ever happened, and it's very unlikely. All right, here we go.
You heard about it being debunked.
Yeah, you might have heard about that, at best. Because it never entered the real scientific literature. All right, here we go.
The diversity of life on Earth. Darwin's theory was to explain, as Francis Ayala, who was the president of the American Academy of Sciences, it was to explain why creatures look so incredibly designed and why they look so highly engineered, but really weren't.
I mean,
Did
to some
Darwin
extent,
say that they look highly engineered?
Yeah, so he, not in those words, right? But he did talk about the fact that the adaptations that he saw in life had been previously ascribed to direct causation from a supernatural agent who did things. And then he went on to say how even greater the creator is for his ability to create a system that just sort of designs itself without direct input. Now, of course, I'm still paraphrasing. So that idea is in there, that Darwin acknowledged that things looked like they may have been designed by an intelligent designer and specially created, but he didn't think they actually were. Also, Savage Cobra kind of official says, young Earth creationists believe in a lot of things that never happened. Yes, that is true. They also don't believe in a lot of things that did happen. Actually, I would say that they don't believe in more things that did happen than they do in things that didn't happen. Because there's a whole lot of things that happened that they're just like, nah. B2022 for £5 says, I, Dapper Dino, am finally ready to admit my love for pelagic tunicates. All my previous hatred was simply a case of denial, followed by Ghidorah. So we'll take a drink for Ghidorah. But however, how dare you?
You heard it straight from the dino's mouth, folks.
Don't take it out of context. I am just reading what B2022 slanderously lied about me concerning. Also, Elleron Teller has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They've gone to Vadim Slamovsky, Radchenko, Skeletor over 9,000. Hold on, I have to pause this thing from scrolling. Vesta Freya, to Ben Joyner and Helen R. There we go. Sorry, it's keep scrolling. I have to go back and forth. Send tetrapod emojis. Don't send pelagic tunicate emojis.
Pelagic tunicates, send them.
Only tetrapods, but also let's take 5
Arise,
drinks.
pelagic tunicate army.
We're going to take 5 drinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Woohoo!
But that polishes off my drink, and it is also time to wrap up. So,
I think he's mostly done anyway.
yeah, well, Ashanti, you can be found on Chesh's channel coming up here in a few hours.
Yeah.
That is linked in the description. Let's see. What is coming up on my channel here in the next few days? So, on the 2nd of May, 2023, I say that for anyone who's watching in the future, we are going to be doing Kent with Bent. On Thursday, the 4th, we will be looking at, let me double check so I don't get it wrong. This is the kind of thing I would probably get wrong. Actually go to my studio. There we go. Yes, so the movie version of the ICR Lies About Dinosaurs is coming out on the 4th. Pelagic Tunicate Truth Official. Still can't say it with a straight face. For €2 says, I knew that you actually love me with the Mothra. I'd love to take a drink for the Mothra, but I'm out of beverage completely. But you know, we'll if you're at home, take a drink and we'll increase the number for Mothra. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the 3-part series about some ICR scientists with big old quotes, talking about Q&A from their audience about dinosaurs, that will be compiled into a supercut on the 4th. And then on the 6th, I'm currently planning on continuing with this because we still have most of this, which, by the way, isn't mostly Randy Guliuzza. He goes away and new speakers come up. So it's not all Randy Guliuzza. But with that, Vishanti, unless you have anything else that you would like to add, I think we are
good
to wrap it up.
Yep.
All right. Well, I hope to see you on Tuesday for Kent with Bent, whatever number it is, 100 something. Ugly German truths. I have never actually harassed a pelagic tunic.
We don't know that.
I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
I've never harassed an actual pelagic tunicate. I just think they're gross.
Okay.
All right. Everybody, thank you again. Thank you for all the support. Thank you again to the anonymous person who got me 3 books when I was expecting 1. And yeah, also, if you do want to shout out for giving me something on the wish list, just make sure you put how you want to be thanked in the card and get something from the wish list. There you go.
Yay!
Bye, everybody!
Peace out.
Thanks for watching, but before you go, I just want to say a special thank you to my channel members and my patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bob Knob, Work in Progress, Benthoven, Tapioca Weasel, Danny5252, Elleron Teller, Furavara, Ian Chen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babby, San, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Bead, Scriptic Mystic, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, and Pat L. Dennis. As you probably know, YouTube is a very volatile platform, and from month to month my income on the channel can swing wildly. But the people you see on screen are directly supporting so that I don't have to worry too much about that, and the channel can keep going as it is, and perhaps even improving. If you'd like to join this team, there are links below to join the channel or in the description to join the Patreon. The Patreon starts as low as $1 a month, and the channel memberships start as low as $1.99 a month. On Patreon, you can even get a discount for pledging annually. If you do decide to pledge, you'll get access to an exclusive Discord server just for channel supporters, as well as early access to all of my pre-recorded videos, often up to 2 months in advance. Higher tiers will unlock even better perks. Now, if an annual or monthly pledge isn't right for you, but you still want to support the channel, there is a merch store down in the description, as well as an Amazon wishlist, just for me. And if financial support isn't something you can or want to do, then if you still want to help out the channel, please just like and share these videos and make sure you comment on them. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching.